Hello everyone and welcome to our class today. We're going to be practicing on some questions. So the first one is the following. A study compared Coumadin to rivaroxaban in the management of venous thromboembolism. Results showed that 17 cases had AVTE out of the 1513 patients in the Coumadin group and 57 cases had AVTE out of 1473 patients in the rivaroxaban group. What is the relative risk reduction of using Coumadin over rivaroxaban? So, the best way to solve these kinds of questions is to draw our table that summarizes our treatment arms and our outcome and no outcome. So, the first treatment arm is Coumadin, the second one is rivaroxaban. The second column here would be our outcome, and the third column is our no outcome. In order to get the relative risk reduction, which is known as 1 minus relative risk, we need to first get our RR, which is our relative risk. It is equal to event rate in Coumadin group over event rate in rivaroxaban group. As we saw in our comprehensive course, the theoretical course, so the event rate in the Coumadin group will be 17 over 1513, and the event rate in the rivaroxaban group would be 57 over 1473, which will give us 0.2903. Then, if we subtract this number from 1, we are calculating relative risk reduction, which will give us 0.71, which will lead us to answer A, which is 71%. Question number 2. All of the following statements about ulipristal acetate are true except which one? So answer A says selective progesterone receptor modulator that prevents progesterone from occupying its receptor by competitive inhibition. Answer B can be used up to 5 days after intercourse. After C, hormonal contraception can be initiated the day after the use of ulipristal emergency contraception. Answer D, the most common adverse reactions reported in clinical trials were nausea, headache, dysmenorrhea, abdominal pain, fatigue, and dizziness. So all of these statements are true except answer C. Why? Because we cannot initiate hormonal contraception the day after we use ulipristal acetate. The correct answer is that we have to wait 5 days after we use ulipristal. Then, after we start the hormonal contraception, we're going to have to wait 7 more days. And throughout these 5 days plus the 7 days, we're going to be using a backup method. And the reason behind and the theory behind this answer is simply because the ulipristal acetate is itself a selective progesterone receptor modulator, and it will act as a competitive inhibitor for progesterone. And our third question is the following. 1 hour after the end of a 30-minute intravenous infusion of a 200 milligram gentamicin, the plasma level was 8 microgram per milliliter. 9 hours after the end of the infusion, the plasma level was 3 micrograms per milliliter. We want to calculate the constant K for this drug. So, one way to think about this question is the following. We have a formula which can be given to us, which is K over 2.303 is equal to log C1 minus log C2 over T2 minus T1, C1 and C2 being the concentrations that corresponds to a certain timing. So C1 is 8, which corresponds to T1 of 1 hour. C2 is 3, which corresponds to a T2 of 9 hours. If we plug in these numbers in the formula that we have, and we calculate K, we're going to have it at 0.12 hours minus 1.